Hi, Alex recaps here. Today I am going to explain a movie called The Unknown Woman. A Ukrainian woman came to Italy to work and ended up in slavery. Ukrainian Irina Yaroshenko arrives in the small Italian city Velarci and looks an apartment for rent. The realtor says that in another area she can find apartment much cheaper than here, but woman likes this place and wants to live here. Later she comes to a nearby apartment building and asks the concierge if anyone needs tenant servants. Irina promises to give him 30% of her salary for his health. Having made purchases, Irina leaves the supermarket, but she is stopped by a trigger detector. The guards come to search woman, and as soon as one of them touches Irina she feels bad. Terrible sadistic scenes flash through her mind. Arriving home, Irina remembers her beloved Nello and watches Unknown Woman. In the window of the house where she went to ask about work, the concierge manages to get her as a cleaning lady in his porch. After finishing her shift, woman goes to the bank, opens an account and puts 8,000 into it. Woman strikes up a friendship with Gina, Thea's nanny. The girl's parents, Valeria and Donato Adashers, are jewelers and lead a very prosperous life. During a joint trip to the cinema, Irina secretly pulls the keys to the master's apartment from Gina's bag, and briefly having gone away she orders duplicates of them in the workshop. When she returns she tosses the keys back into her friend's purse. At home she hides copies of the keys in a flower pot. Seeing how the Adashers family gets into the car, Irina calls them on the home phone and, making sure that the apartment is empty, gets inside. A woman rummages through the papers, but the sound of the door opening forces her to shut up. The visitor turns out to be a concierge who, in the absence of the owners, steals gold dust from the jewelry table. The next day Irina comes to Nello's grave and remembers how she was happy with him. Irina asks the concierge to intercede with the tenants to hire her as a housekeeper, but the man replies that no one will change a trusted servant for a foreigner. Gina meets Irina on the stairs and tells that for Thea's birthday she decided to open an account in the name of the girl and put some money in there regularly. By her adulthood a decent amount will accumulate. The woman says that baby has a rare disease. She has paralyzed defensive reflexes. If something falls on Thea she does not defend herself, and if she stumbles she does not put up her hands. The poor girl is always bruised. Gina is about to go on about her business, but Irina puts a brush under her leg with which she was cleaning the stairs. As a result, woman rolls down the stairs and, due to her injuries, remains paralyzed. Valeria is forced to look for a new housekeeper and chooses Irina from all the candidates about whom Gina and the concierge spoke. Well, she asks if Irina knows how to drive, and she says of course. That evening she hires an instructor who teaches her how to drive at an accelerated pace, accidentally driving into an alley full of easily accessible girls. Irina remembers how she was one of them, and also the regular abuse of a pimp named Nufa. On the first day of work, a woman accidentally pushes Thea by door and she falls to the floor. Girl throws a tantrum so that her mother kicks Irina out. Evening, Thea asks Donato, who returned from work, if he brought her the castle of the princess, but he says that he forgot. Later Irina hears Donato yelling at his wife and notices a girl who was peeping at her parents' quarrel through a crack in the door. The next day on the way to school, Thea says that Irina deceived Valeria because she drives disgustingly and threatens to tell her mother everything. In response, Irina promises to tell Valeria how the girl spied on her parents' quarrel. Returning home, girl finds the desired castle of the princess in her room and forgets about everything. Irina says that Donato bought it, and having waited for the right moment, the housekeeper starts rummaging through the dressing room and notices the emptiness behind the rack. Pushing back the furniture she discovers a safe mounted in the wall. Valeria asks Irina to sit with Thea until midnight. Girl says that she knows castle was bought by Irina. The housekeeper replies that she thought it would be more pleasant for the girl to think that this was a gift from her dad. Before going to bed, Irina sings a lullaby to her in Ukrainian language and the girl quickly falls asleep. Returning home, the woman discovers traces of a search. However, the cash in the flower pot outside the window is intact. Valeria asks the housekeeper to live with Thea for a week as she herself is leaving with her husband on vacation. When the hostess enters the dressing room to open the safe, Irina peeps the combination through the keyhole. When Irina comes to pick up Thea from school, the girl cries. It turns out that the poor girl was pushed by classmates and she broke her forehead. Irina tells her to resist and fight them back. At night, when the girl falls asleep, woman goes into the dressing room and opens the safe. Among jewels and various papers she finds the necessary document. Irina will come up with interesting game for Thea. She binds her hands, feet and pushes her onto the bed, teaching her to brace herself and get up after a fall. In the end, the tired girl asks to stop, but Irina does not stop until she screams, saying that he will tell his mother everything. Irina unties Thea and she hits her on the cheeks. Woman is only smiles because that last girl has learned to defend herself. Returned, Valeria lets Irina go home. In a dark alley, foreign housekeeper are waiting a man dressed as Santa Claus. With the words Merry Christmas, they throw her on ground and kicked. Woman, covered in blood, crawls to the door of the concierge's apartment and asks for permission to stay with him for a few days because she does not want to go to the policeman, is afraid of trouble and demands that she leave, but Irina threatens to tell about how he stole gold dust and a man immediately agrees to give her shelter. Irina asks him to tell Valeria that she is ill. Woman recalls time when she was pregnant and pimp settled her in a room with no windows, and all day long he brought perverted clients to her After recovering a little, she secretly watches Thea, and while fighting in the schoolyard and seeing that girl finally began to defend herself, she happily smiles. Returning, Irina learns from the concierge that two strangers asked about her and he said that she does not work here anymore. Irina visits the paralyzed Gina in a sanatorium and asks for forgiveness for her act, having put the woman's finger in the pen. She signs some document with her hand and then goes to bank to deposit money back into the account. Irina recalls how she crept up to the sleeping Mufa and with the words "This is for Nello" plunged the scissors into his stomach. Then she took away hidden in the refrigerator money and left. She returns to work, but it is clear that the Adashers family has cooled towards to the housekeeper. One day while walking, the girl offers play hide and seek. Counting to 10, Irina turns around and she is horrified to see Mufa standing nearby. She calls the girl, but she is nowhere to be found. Running home, the woman shouts to Valeria that Thea was kidnapped, and at that moment, with the words "I won and you didn't find me," the unharmed girl runs out of the room. Later, Thea asks the housekeeper for forgiveness. Irina invites girl to ask her mother to let her spend the night in their home. However, Valeria hears this conversation standing outside the door of the room. Irina comes home to pick up her stash in the flower pot and notices that Valeria found out where she lives and now keeps an eye on her windows. When a woman is packing her things to move to another apartment, Mufa sneaks up behind her, threatening with a knife. He demands to know where his money is. At this moment, the doorbell rings and Valeria appears on the threshold. Irina asks woman not to enter, but she does not listen. Without noticing Mufu hiding in the next room, woman inspects the dwelling and discovers many photographs of Thea and also drawings of the girl. Valeria says that according to the law she is a mother and will not give her daughter to anyone she leaves. And Mufa says that Irina has a week to return the money. Arriving at the Adashers jewelry store, Irina finds out that Valeria died and her body was found in a car sunken in the river. Woman understands that only Mufa could do such a thing. Donato says that T still doesn't know what happened and keeps asking where her mother and where is Irina. Girl would be glad if the housekeeper moved to live with them. Irina collects things but cannot find one red shoe. She loads the bags in the trunk and gets into the car, but at that moment Mufa sits in the next seat. He again demands to say where the money is and Irina agrees. The next day, when she is sorting things out in the Adashers house, the police come for her and ask her drive to the department. The officer shows Irina her driver's license and a red shoe. Woman confirms that the things belong to her. Then the policeman asks where they ended up. In the cabin of Valeria's car. It turns out that someone messed up the brake system of the car, which led to accidents. Marina says that she was set up. She does not try to defend herself and decides to tell everything as it is. The woman leads the police to the place where yesterday she killed Mufa with a blow of a shovel and buried him. She reveals that Mufa kept her and other girls as slaves, and when Irina got pregnant for the first time he locked her up. The woman had to give birth to 9 children in 12 years. He sold babies. Thea was the last. According to the documents, she was born 3 days after Irina's last birth. In the safe of the Adashers, woman found documents for the establishment. She learned about the Adashers from a midwife who clandestinely took birth in Mufa's establishment. During interrogation, the midwife says that Irina molested her and threatened her to find out from Mufa about her daughter. She went to Mufa and asked what she would answer. The pimp looked at his medallion. The 8 Acres brand was on the jewelry, and without thinking twice he called the woman this name. Judging shows woman Nufa's medallion. Without thinking twice the woman faints. Later, lawyer tells woman that a frank confession will reduce the sentence, but still the judge cannot fully exonerate her of committing the murder. Lawyer asks why she did not look for her other children. Irina says that she was looking only for the last child because she knew who her father was. It was her beloved Nello whom Mufa killed and buried in a landfill because he was afraid that Irina would run away with him. The lawyer says the DNA test showed that Thea is not her daughter. In addition, the judge has a proposal for her. Irina is brought to the hospital. Thea girl is languishing and refuses to eat. Woman says that she is leaving for her homeland, but she has prepared a gift that the girl will receive when she grows up a little. Obviously, Irina tells about Gina's bank account into which she put the money stolen from Mufa and signed the documents with Gina's hand. Irina sings a Ukrainian lullaby to the girl and Thea falls asleep. Years later, Irina comes out of prison and sees the grown-up Thea who came to meet her. Your movie ends. Thank you for watching and see you tomorrow at the same time.